Hey guys, so today's video I am going to rank all of my eyeshadow palettes. I have a small collection of eyeshadow palettes, but all of these I love. But it's just that if I have to rank them, then of course there will be palettes at the bottom and palettes at the top. I did a ranking of palettes last year, but back then I only had 5 palettes, and now I added 3 more, and I've been testing out the new ones, and I definitely have my thoughts on the formula, and I definitely have my favorites now. So just to give you guys an overview, these are all of my palettes, and I have a small collection, but I love all of these because I don't bring in a lot of eyeshadows every time. If I really am meticulous with buying eyeshadows because they take up such a long time to use up. So if I'm gonna bring in an eyeshadow in my collection, I make sure that I really love them and that they're not just impulse buy, or I think of it this way: if I buy this palette, would I be glad to have it in my collection, and later on would I be glad to pan it? So if not, then I'm not gonna buy it. And also, if there's a new eyeshadow in the market, I would, because dupes does not really work for me. Like, finding dupes in my collection doesn't really work for me. But what works for me is that, for example, if there's this new eyeshadow palette, yes, I love it. I love the formula, or I love the color story. But would I love it more than the palettes that I already have? If no, then I won't buy it. But if yes, then I'm definitely gonna wait on it, wait for a sale, or the 3 new ones that I bought, the Viseart and the Natasha Denona, I didn't buy them on sale, but I bought them after lasting over them for over 2 years. Especially with the Camel palette. I think this came out 2018, and I've been lasting over this. I've been trying to resist myself, but I just couldn't get it out of my mind. I know that it's very neutral, but I decided to just buy it, even though it's very neutral, because I just love it. And yeah, but anyway, let's start with the ranking. So the one that's, I have how many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I have 8 palettes right now, and my top 8 top 8 is the Going Coconuts palette. And I like this, but it's not like, it does not have the best formula. And also, even though it's neutrals, some of the undertones in this palette, they come out a little bit of a mauvey, cool toned mauve, and it's just not like the best neutral undertone for my skin type. That's why it's not my favorite. And also, the quality isn't as good as, say, my other Colourpop palettes that I've tried in the past, and that I've also decluttered. But yeah, I kept this one because it was new last year. I just got this last year, 2020, and yes, I have a lot of pans in there because I'm trying to pan it this year because this is my least favorite. I mean, I still like it, but it's my least favorite, and I'd like to get it out of my collection. So this is my Going Coconuts. And then the next one is the Zoeva Cocoa Blend palette. I actually love the formula of this one because the formula of this one is buildable. It's not like the typical Anastasia formula, or you know, the palettes, the recent palettes that are very pigmented. So it's not like that. It's really buildable, so I really love it. It's just that the shimmers in this one are, how do I say it, they're office friendly. They're not like blingy, and sometimes I like it, sometimes I don't. But this comes in the top 7 place because it's the oldest in my collection. And even though I like the formula, even though I like how buildable the formula is, I would just prefer them to be a bit more smoother. Even though the formula, they build itself up, they're not like the smoothest formula. You know, you get what I mean. So I'll explain later, because usually sometimes if the formula is smooth, it's also very pigmented. But this one, they're buildable, but they're not very smooth. But I like the color story. because I like neutrals. And then this one is the Colourpop I Think I Love You, but this contains a mixture of palettes of eyeshadows from my long decluttered Colourpop palettes. So this is what it looks like. I like the formula of these palettes, of these earlier Colourpop eyeshadows, than the formula of the shadows from the Colourpop. That's why even though the palette is older, much older than the Going Cocons, because this one I bought in 2018. Yeah, 2018. This one I bought 2020, but this one still has better quality than this one, and I like this one. I like this. Yeah, it's just that right now I'm really transitioning towards a bit less blingy shimmers, you know, like the old lady shimmers, as they say, the ones that are like office friendly. They're not that blingy, and the shimmers in here, they're very smooth, but they're also very metallic, which is not a bad thing. I still like my metallics, but it's just that they're not the ones that I would wear every day. So yeah, but I love the colors in here. But again, it's getting a bit old, so it's not really like my favorite. But the shades that I've come up with on this palette, I love. And then my top four. Okay, so my top 4 palette is this Anastasia Prism palette, and I love the formula. I know that a lot of people didn't like this one because they say that the colors aren't cohesive, but actually for me, I'm a very neutrals person, and I still get neutrals look out of this one. Like for example, I get Unity, and then sometimes I'd mix Eden and Sphere, and they just create that peachy look. Or sometimes I'd mix Unity and Parallel to create a mid-tone shade, and then I'll darken it up with Parallel, and then I'll put a Sphinx as a shimmer, and then that's a very neutral look. And Sphinx here is a very good bronze. And then sometimes if I like something a bit more colorful, I'd get this one. So yeah, it's definitely not. If this wasn't a gift, I wouldn't have purchased it. But I'm thankful that I have this, because if you guys saw my palettes, they're very neutral. So this is like my very colorful palette, and the formula of this one it's good. It's not like the typical like metallics. They're a bit more denser, so I feel like they're better applied with the finger. But yeah, I like this. I think it's just that this one gets decluttered a lot during declutter videos, because well, most of these declutters they have a lot of palettes, so they won't mind throwing this out. But since I have a very curated collection, I've found ways to make this work. I've found ways to create like cohesive looks out of this one. And if, for example, I'd like to spice things up in my collection, then I can just grab one color in here and then just use them as a liner, just to add some color to my eyes. So I absolutely love this one. And this one came out 2018, and it's still good. Thankfully, the formula hasn't like gone bad yet. So yeah, I'm actually really glad to have this one. And then this is the Sultry palette. For a time, this was my favorite palette, and this is what it looks like. And I still absolutely love this. It's just they say that it's a cool tone, but no, this is really just more of like that neutral color with neutral undertones. So I absolutely love it, because for me, I look the best and I feel the best when I'm wearing neutrals. That's why I just buy neutral colors. So anyway, I love this one, even though it has so much shimmers. I like the shimmers that this contains, like especially Cinder and Teak. They're just like the perfect bronzes for me. And Bridge is just a very good mid-tone shade for me. And sometimes if I want something a bit more pink, I have this Bloom. And as I mentioned, if I want to add a bit more color, I can get some in here. So I can get the Saturn one, the orange one, and Eden and even Lure together with these two shades. Then I get another neutralish pinkish look. So I absolutely love this. But this one comes just below the Mini Glam palette, because even though the colors in here are very similar, like you can see, the colors in here are very similar. Actually, even the colors from the Going Coconuts, like these definitely can dupe themselves out. Well, just imagine my Going Coconuts having all of the colors, and then this the Mini Glam, and then the Sultry. They all have the same color story. So if you have one, you have the three. But the Natasha Denona Mini Glam comes on top of these three dupe palettes, because I just love the formula of this one. It's not even because this one is like one of the newest one in my collection, that's why it's on top, but it's just really the formula of this one is really good. It's so soft and it's so buttery, and the shimmers in here, I thought that my favorite formula was Anastasia, but once I tried my Natasha Denona palettes, they're so good. The formula is just like way better. So even though the colors are the same, I just love the formula of this one. And even though it only has 5 shadows, this one still goes on top because I love the formula. The next one is this one, the Natasha Denona Camel palette. Again, I thought that this would be my #1 palette because I've been lusting over this ever since this came out, because this is like the perfect neutral color that I can wear daily and even for night out looks. And I love this one. The shimmer on this one, especially this one, it's very light. It's not clingy, so it's very office friendly, which I don't mind, because I think that the ones that would buy these ones are the ones that just love neutrals. Because if you love colors, why would you buy this one? And usually the ones that love neutrals are the ones that work in an office setup where they can't really wear a lot of blingy colors, or sometimes the ones that would, or I think the ones that would buy these palettes are the ones that are just want natural looks. And for natural looks, you don't like very blingy eyeshadows. So I think that's why the shimmers on these ones are really not that metallic. Like even this one, it's not the typical what do you call this, Natasha Denona formula that I got from this one, where they're very blingy. This one is just very, like I said earlier, they're like the old people shimmer that you get from Dior, Chanel. So they're just like that, because again, you don't really, for me, this one it's really for people that love natural makeup. And for natural makeup, you don't really like metallic shine on your face. So that's why the shimmers in here are not as blingy as the other shimmers that Natasha Denona normally has. So I love this one, but it only comes second because as much as I love the formula of this one, I just really prefer the formula of Viseart. This is the Viseart Praline Petit Four. And despite the fact that this only has one matte, and I love mattes, I prefer mattes over shimmers. And normally for this, since this has 3 shimmers, this would have gone down. This would have been second to Natasha Denona, because Natasha Denona has 3 mattes. But still, I couldn't deny the fact that Viseart just has this, at least for this palette, because this is the only Viseart palette that I've ever tried. I just love the formula of this one. Even though, and don't get me wrong, the formula of this Camel palette is already very good. But it's just that there's something about this Viseart formula that I really love. And even though they're all shimmers, I can just blend them all out, and it just creates this like very smooth look, very sophisticated look, and I just love it. I don't know why. the formula of this one, it's also soft as my Natasha Denona, but there's just something every time I use this one, it's just like it blends everything. Like sometimes I just even use just one brush for everything, and that is it. It just creates this very beautiful look. And yeah, so I feel like if Viseart comes out with more color stories that I love, I would definitely get them because I just love the formula. And I now definitely get why it's a bit of an expensive brand. So yeah, those are all of my palettes. And if you guys notice, of course, all of my top palettes are neutrals because they're my favorite colors. And I don't just wear them for everyday, I wear them even for night outs. So yeah, that is it, guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. And I hope that you didn't get bored from my palettes, but yeah. I love them, and I like the fact that I bring in my palettes very slowly, so that way I get to use all of my palettes, because I just love it when my palettes looks used, because that means that I am playing around with my makeup. So especially with this one, and then this top 5, they're all kind of new. So well, top 4, these are all kind of new, that's why there's really not a lot of usage yet, but you can see in my Sultry, I've used it quite a bit. But yeah, that is it, guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.